Coach, appreciate you making some time for us this morning. I appreciate you and Danielle hosting us last night. Who gets the credit for the idea of the draft party and allowing the media to attend?
Well, credit internally always goes to Danielle. Externally, I'll take all the credit. So I appreciate, Ty, you and Tommy having me on this morning. It's always great to join the morning rush. But, it was kind of an outside-the-box thing. Not a lot of coaches host media at their home for an event, but we thought that it would be a little bit more personalized for the media to be able to watch the draft with our players, and I think it ended up being a great idea for everybody involved.
Coach, I think you and Moses sent a message last night, something you touched on a little bit, to every high school player in this state that they can come to Arkansas or outside the state for that matter and leave a lottery pick. Do you think that message was etched in stone to several recruits across the country last night?
Well, I think you just hit on something really important across the country. Because the text messages that I received from players, outside our area about Moses being drafted was really, really cool. So yeah, I do think that it has an impact on, recruits. It has an impact on current players. It has an impact on former players. So this is a big deal. Obviously the Razorbacks have had such a storied, program for many years, but it's been a long time since there's been a lottery pick. And for someone to be able to do that as a freshman, and someone from this state, it is a very powerful message. And Moses is going to a fabulous, organization. The text messages, Eric Housen, was the equipment manager when I was with the Warriors. He sent me a text that there's a box of gear headed this way for me and my family to wear around Northwest Arkansas, knowing that Moses is playing here. Raymond Ritter is the same public relations director with the Warriors when I was there. We were going back and forth. Michael Musselman on our staff is very good friends with Steve Kerr's son, Nick. They both went to the University of San Diego together. Those two had some important conversations leading up to the draft. So some really, really cool, storylines that we're going to be able to follow Moses and have access that maybe if it was a different NBA organization, maybe we wouldn't have the personal touch that we'll be able to have from behind the scenes.
Coach, we could go through a list of players in the last 10 or 15 years at Arkansas, whether it's Bobby Portis, who just won a championship, Ronnie Brewer, who just joined your staff, Patrick Beverly. The list could go on. Joe Johnson, you can go back a few more years. Some players had better careers at Arkansas than others, and then some of those players that didn't have the best college careers went on to have better NBA careers. What's going to be the difference for Moses at this point moving forward that will make the difference in a good versus great NBA career? What does he have to do now at this point to take his game and his career to the next level to make it more than just getting to this point, to make the most of it for the next 10 to 15 years?
Yeah, I think that, one of the things that we talk to our team about, all the time is it's not about making the NBA. It's about having longevity in the NBA. And, what number one, how do you stay in the NBA a long time? Where you have great practice habits. Practice doesn't slow down by you trying to, learn the plays. You already know the plays because you bring the playbook home and you study it between practices. You understand what scouting reports mean. You ask the right questions during film sessions. It's going to be really important for any rookie. You got to be the first one in the gym. Well, I can tell you guys right now, the first one in the gym, because every year that I was at Nevada, I would drive over from Reno to the Golden State Warriors practice site, and we would watch the first few days of practice with Golden State because we ran most of their offense at Nevada. The time that Steph Curry steps on the floor before they actually practice sometimes can be up to 2 hours. So you're going to have to do all those things to survive and stay in the NBA. Obviously, you're afforded a luxury when you're a lottery pick because your contract is a pretty, not pretty, it's doggone good, solid. It's got good years. It's got great money. But then you want that second contract to be bigger and longer. And you do that by being a true pro. Mm-hmm. And then with a lot of guys, it comes down to, what team are they with? What veterans are they surrounded by? Are they in a winning environment? Who's your coach? Who's your general manager? All those things are really, really important. For someone like Moses Moody, he could have still, there's some guys that are going to, play 3 more years of college that are in his class. So by the time his class actually graduates, he's going to have 3 years of professional experience under his belt, which is, why guys should and could leave early when they're ready. But some of the other things that we're going to talk to our team about is there's always a time and a place for you to think about your professional career. And I'm going to revert back to Nevada with the Martin twins. They came back for their senior year. A lot of agents and people told them, you need to leave because you're going to be too old. Well, those guys are going into their 3rd year now. They're not bouncing around, getting cut, playing in the G League and playing for 6 or 7 different teams. They're with a great organization in Charlotte. And they played 4 years of college basketball, actually 5 years, because they were transfers who sat out. So everyone takes a different path. The biggest thing is, how do you stay in that league? And some things that are separators are, sometimes it's God-given ability. That league, meaning the NBA, you've got to have good length, you've got to have great athleticism, and you've got to have a high basketball IQ. And that's where you see some guys rise, some guys fall. And so I think Moses possesses all that. He possesses a great work ethic. And hopefully, just as the Martin twins, both publicly with the media, have done for the last 3 years, and it's come from James Borrego, their head coach. Those 2 guys were really, really prepared to play in the NBA from a scheme standpoint and a work ethic standpoint. Hopefully, Moses Moody will feel the same way.
Coach Muss, you do everything with a purpose. You had your team, seated front and center there on your patio in front of the TV last night. What did you want them to visualize and take away from their teammates' success, and maybe visualize for themselves in the future? What do you hope they left your house last night thinking for themselves moving forward?
Yeah, we were pretty methodical, you guys, how we did this. Actually, our last practice, we were able to practice 8 weeks over a 10-week time frame, and we timed it up very, very strategically so that our last practice was from 2 to 2:45 yesterday. They got a few hours to get back to their place and then come over for the draft, and that would be our last outing of the summer. And then the next time that the guys will be back with us will be when they come and report once the school year starts in late August. So it was strategic. Obviously, we made shirts that, on the front said Pro Hogs, on the back it said Who's Next. Wanted them to watch it as a group, wanted them to have fun with it. We had boards up where they could kind of project where they thought Moses was going to go. I think they got a feel that maybe, we do have some contacts and knew what was going on before things were actually happening in the draft. I think that gives credibility when you talk to your team about stories that go on in the NBA and you talk to them about the draft. I think that holds a tremendous amount of credibility with your team. I wanted them to kind of feel that as well. But I wanted them to be able to visualize, what those players go through. Both, I'm sure there's some nerves when names start getting called and you don't hear your name. And I'm sure that a lot of those guys mentally last night probably felt like they were in the green room with Moses. And I also think it's great motivation that, hey, one of your teammates that you were playing next to and oftentimes you were getting a play run instead of him called for you. Or, take a guy like Devo Davis. I mean, he was taking game-winning shots instead of Moses at times. And I think that those type things can help motivate a player, or at least they should motivate a guy to want to continue to work on his craft.
Coach Eric Musselman with us this morning. Coach, I don't know if you heard Devo last night, but apparently Moses got onto him one of the first practices and is like, "You're younger than me," but it's a funny little tidbit that he got into. I want to ask you about the prospect of playing Oklahoma and Texas in basketball. Chris Beard with the Texas Longhorns, Porter Moser with Oklahoma. We saw a stellar game when Coach Beard was at Texas Tech this past year to get to the Sweet 16. What do you think about the idea and prospect of playing the Sooners and the Longhorns, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, the game that Arkansas fans watched us play against Texas Tech was the second best game we had against them. The first best game was we took a Nevada team into Texas Tech. They were ranked high. We were ranked high. We lost in overtime. I've never seen a worse whistle in my entire life. So it'll be good to play them with the same conference referees than what we experienced in Nevada. I can tell you that. But when you play against Coach Beard's team, you better be mentally tough, and you better not back down, and you better not flinch. And our teams won't flinch, and our teams won't back down. But he's a tremendous coach. They have incredible resources behind them at Texas. They're going to use their resources. They're always going to be talented. And then Oklahoma, I think both those schools, provide, a natural rivalry. I know we're not playing either team in a conference game this year. I don't even know what I'm supposed to talk about with those two programs other than we're not playing them in a conference game, although we are playing Oklahoma in Tulsa. And we're playing that game because, we as a program thought that would be a really good game for our fan base. That's why we signed, a contract to play a series with Oklahoma and to play it in Tulsa, because we thought it was good for our fans to be able to travel and it's not too far, and it's in a city that might be desirable to go watch a game. And, I think that when you're in the SEC, every game's tough. No matter who you play. So I don't think that changes, one bit. I do think from a recruiting standpoint, where we are in our league right now, you better really recruit at a high level, and you got to do it every single year, or you're going to fall behind.
Coach, you bring up mental toughness. Hunter Yurchek went through some boxing stuff with your basketball team, the athletics director at the University of Arkansas. Do you think he could survive one of your full practices mid-season?
No way. No. I don't know. Hunter's in really good shape. It's interesting. This has been the first year that not only myself but our entire staff hasn't gone through our Friday. Every Friday we do something non-basketball related. We've done spin class, and usually even the coaches' wives participate in most of this stuff. But because we've been out, recruiting, this month has been the most tiresome month, that I've ever had as a college coach, because there's been some added dates recruiting wise. There was games that we sat on, and watched, over and over and over. So we missed out on all that, but that's what a family does. Your athletic director's in a boxing ring with your players. It brings everybody, closer. And we, every time we do an event like that, because of the relationship with Hunter, we think it's cool. Our players like it. I love it. The reason Hunter was there was because we invited him. We let him know, hey, we're doing a boxing at 2:00 on Friday, we'd love to have you join us. And he's an athletic director that's hands-on, that comes to practice, that he and I are constantly talking after the practices that he comes to. And that's what you want. It's no different when you're coaching in the NBA. You want that GM who's with you, who's there after a loss, who's there after a win, who's constantly communicating. And that's what we have with Hunter.
So, which one of your players were landing the hardest punches on the bag in those drills and practices the other day? And you brought in a couple of pros to help with those practices.
I'll tell you what, because I wasn't there, I don't know who was landing the hardest punches. I know who I wouldn't want to take a punch from. The way that J.D. Notae's changed his body and his shoulders, and knowing the toughness, I think he could be a hell of a boxer. I know Trey is a guy that Trey Wade's probably a guy that I wouldn't want to get in the ring with.
Yeah.
And then Devo's quickness, his hand-eye speed in a boxing ring would be pretty lethal. But our guys, it's interesting. Every year that we've done this now, the boxing has been our players' funnest out of basketball, thing that we've done. And then we ended yesterday. We did a skills challenge like at the NBA All-Star. Hopefully our social media team captured that at the end of practice. It was really fun to see our guys kind of in an NBA All-Star type event. They did that, and then as soon as that ended, we had some fun and had an ice cream truck waiting for them outside of practice. So we had a blast. Yesterday was a really, really cool day for all of us.
Well, if you ever get in the ring, we know it would be phantom weight, first of all. Secondly, Ty brought you a really sweet retro jacket. We know you appreciate retro of the Final Four. It's got the patches on the sleeve. So now you would have a Final Four Razorback pullover to wear into the ring. That could be what you'd come out in now. So we got you fixed up.
You know what? I love it. Danielle saw the jacket. She told me I could not wear that jacket on a date night.
It does look 1994. I mean, it does have that look to it.
She definitely told me, that could not be worn at any nice restaurant that we go to. But yeah, you know what? That's not a bad. I know one thing in a boxing ring. You'd probably have to drag me out of there. I know I wouldn't quit. I'd stay in there as long as I possibly could.
Coach, one last question before we let you go. John Rothstein reported yesterday you guys are going to open up your season against Mercer. I think it's 103 days out. And one of the clips that your social media team put together is you talking with the team about it's going to be harder this team because people know you're coming. Coach, what do you think is your most difficult challenge ahead with this ball club heading into this upcoming season?
Well, I will say because, having been a part of a Sweet 16 team and then the following year being ranked as early as high as 4 by one poll and 5 by another, I thought there was pressure on our players that year at Nevada. Our team will have pressure. They've got, all of us, you've got to deal with that. And then I think for the returning players, how hungry are you going to be if you tasted some success? Are you really working on parts of your game? Because, look, we only get 4 hours with these guys in the summer a week. If you think you're going to improve in 4 hours a week and you're only doing that for 8 weeks, that's not how you become a better basketball player. You become a better basketball player by taking what we're giving you in practice and then going out and implementing that with the graduate assistants on off hours. And so how much improvement and how hungry are J.D., Devo, J. Will, Connor, how hungry is that group of guys that's back after having success? Because every year is different. Every team's different. Every year that you come back, new roles are formed. I don't know who our go-to player is right now. I don't know who is going to be the ball distributor to get the ball to our leading scorer. We did not know at this time last year that Moses Moody would lead us in scoring. We had no idea. If you would have just gone off those first 8 weeks last year, Moses probably would have been the fourth option at this particular time last year. Now, from this time until, we got to conference play, Moses became that guy through his work ethic. And so we're going to be an evolving team because we have so many new faces, just as we did last year. We got better as the season went on. We did not panic after a loss. We didn't listen to the noise on social media. We believed in ourselves. We believed coming back to work even when we got our butts kicked at LSU and Alabama. And we're going to have that same mental toughness this year as well.
Coach Eric Musselman, kind enough to join us this morning, and Mrs. Danielle, kind enough to host us last night. Coach, we really appreciate your time this morning. I think, again, 103 days out, I know there's no one more excited than you.
No, I can't wait. I can't wait to watch Coach Pittman's team and go to those football games this year. And love coming on the morning rush. Ty, Tommy, thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely,
Thanks, Coach.
Good stuff from Coach Musselman.